with me, another fellow podcaster and a friend of the show. It's Derek from Rolling Misadventures. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. How have you been?
I've been all right. Finally cleared from the COVID. I had that.
Nice.
The whole house was positive, so we've been cooped up for the last few weeks. Thankfully, symptoms are super mild. We didn't have the worst thing we had was like sore throats. Carissa had some weird thing. It's called COVID tongue. I never heard of it until
Huh.
until she experienced it. But thankfully, nothing was too bad. So we're in the clear now, which is good.
Right on, man. Yeah, it's so weird with how much of it's popping up. It's just like, oh, this is a new symptom. Okay, we're just gonna call it COVID this. Next it's gonna be
Yeah.
like COVID eyeball and COVID ear.
Right, right. And I try not to joke about it too much because a lot of people like get it worse, and obviously there's been a lot of deaths. But I mean, still, we had it, and hopefully I have some antibodies. So I don't know, we'll see. But thanks for hopping on the program. We're drinking New Holland Brewing's Dragon's Milk. So I think I have a little bit of a different one than you do. Um, but I have the Reserve too. So this is a 11% ABV. This one is, so that explains
Yeah,
a couple
same here.
things. Cool. So it's a Scotch barrel aged stout with marshmallows and dark chocolate. Is that yours as well?
Mine doesn't say a whole lot on it. It just says roasted, malty, and smooth. So
Well, I mean, that's all you
yeah.
need, I guess. On mine, so it says one of our favorite places to share a dragon's milk is around the campfire, and the second reserve release of the 2020 pays tribute to those legendary summer nights. A blend of Highland and Speyside Scotch barrels bring a hint of peated smoothness that accentuates the roasted notes of our signature stout, while toasted marshmallow aroma and flavors set a stage for a rich, chocolatey finish. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
So I've never had this. I've heard. I think we've talked about it a little bit before. I mean,
Hmm.
um, I recently started a Substack, so like a Dudes with Brews blog, and the first posting is about the beers I like and some of the beers I don't like, and I talk about um, stouts and porters, and I don't really know the difference. But this is a stout.
I just know I like to drink them. That's about it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm more of a one and done because they are so like boozy
Mhm.
sometimes, especially like the bourbon barrel ones. Those get pretty strong, but this one, I mean, it's got your generic darkness to it. Smells like a average one. So you've had this before, and you said you enjoy them, right?
Oh yeah, this is kind of my go-to right now. Uh, I will say because it is a stout, be a little careful with it. It'll sneak up on you.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, this one's interesting. So some of them, hmm, I don't really get the marshmallowiness of it. Maybe when you smell it, it said more
Mhm.
of the aroma, but yeah, it's good. Hmm. How many like what kind of beers are you? So you said you've been drinking these lately, but what do you normally kind of lean for?
Honestly, I've been doing a lot more IPAs lately, which I didn't used to like. We ended up doing like a beer tour around Tacoma, hitting up just the local breweries,
Okay.
and unfortunately, it's not around anymore. The tour itself, I guess the gal who ran it is now retired and living in Hawaii, so awesome for her. But the whole deal was that she would take you to a brewery, and her husband would kind of go ahead and set stuff up, and he would have food to pair with the drinks.
Nice. Nice.
And so with that, that's what she got me hooked on IPAs, from like taking a bite of like a lemon filled donut and then
Okay.
drinking the IPA so you could taste the citrus, and then, you know, having a bit of cheese with it to see how it changed the flavor. And after that, I got hooked. But pretty much just the bourbon, the Dragon's Milk Stout, and then honestly been doing a lot more of the seltzers lately.
Okay. Yeah. I kind of bashed the seltzers a little bit like the White Claws at first, but a
Mhm.
lot of the local breweries around make them now, make their own like craft seltzers, and I actually enjoy those. They're lighter and they I mean less calories, less carbs, all
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. But I feel like you get a better taste when it's like the craft brew ones with the seltzers. I mean, I could be biased, but that's just kind of what. Because there's a brewery called Three Sheeps by me that I had their seltzer. I bought a 12 pack of them, and I was like, oh, these are way better than White Claws. But I guess if you need to go for the White Claws, go for the White Claws.
I mean, I've been trying a bunch of other ones. Like we just tried Cape Line last night. which is more of like it is still a seltzer, but it's kind of like a mixed drink seltzer.
Okay.
There's another one we had tried the other day. It's pretty much now like whenever we hit the grocery store, we'll just pick up whichever one we haven't tried.
Sure.
But I will definitely have to check to see if any of our local breweries are doing it because that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of that's like the new thing now is the seltzer.
Mhm.
So I'm sure some breweries around you eventually will hop to it. But yeah, you have so is Deschutes close to you at all? I think that's from
Yeah,
Washington, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, it is Washington. Yeah.
Okay, they're pretty
Not
good.
exactly sure where they're located though. Like I know some of the, uh, again, back to just mainly because we did the tour. Like we have Seven Seas out here, specifically in Tacoma. Um, there's Airport Brewery or Airport Way or something like that,
Okay.
which is also really good. And unfortunately, I can't remember the name of them. But yeah, we've got like per capita in Washington, Tacoma, as far as like the western part of Washington, just is insane with how many breweries there are.
Nice. Yeah, we're getting. I mean, they pop up in Wisconsin all the time. But let's talk a little bit about what you've been doing lately. So your podcast, Rolling Misadventures, you've been
Mhm.
doing that for
We're
over
going
a
on
year?
3 years now.
Holy
We
shit.
just hit our 2 year anniversary. I think this week,
That's crazy.
right?
It seems like yesterday. Because you used to do the Sometimes Geek. That's how we got acquainted. And
Yep.
then I remember, yeah, you went to Rolling Misadventures, and wow, that doesn't seem like 2 years ago. Time's flied.
I
Fly.
know. Yeah. Like I was thinking about it the other day. I'm like either on my 5th year or I have just hit 5 years of podcasting,
That's sweet, man. I mean,
which is ridiculous.
yeah, we're at the 3 year mark for this show. So I don't remember exactly the date, but I know it was I think it was in July or August. So we're getting on
Mhm.
3 years and 150 episodes in. So it's
Nice.
yeah, it's weird how it just becomes kind of part of just your routine. And even when I miss it in a week, it's like shit. I feel like I missed a big part of the week. So
Oh, absolutely. Like my co-hosts basically kicked me off for 2 episodes. Like they're like, Derek's been working himself too hard. We're gonna do an episode without him, which they had never done, sans me. Um, but they did the full recording, they did the editing, the sound design, all of it by themselves, which was great because I don't know how to do free time. So I did like a dozen podcast guest episodes
oh,
and
nice,
uh, did some stuff for like I wrote a mini audio, like a 1 episode audio drama
sweet dude, that's awesome.
for a show called Listen, Rinse, Repeat. Basically, the idea behind that was like it was a horror theme and it had to fit in 59 seconds. So
That's killer. I like that.
yeah, so like I did that and just all these other things instead of taking a break, which they promptly yelled at me for. But the other side of it is that without like normally I'm editing all the damn time now with that show and not editing for a month and try to come back to it, it's like I can maybe sit down for a half hour before I'm like, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing anymore.
Right. I mean, your show is way more intricate than mine. Obviously, I'll edit some things out, try to make things a little more smoother and everything like that. But you have 3 people on your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
You have you guys are creating a story and then elaborating off it, and then like you said, you have to add all the effects and everything like that. So yours is like a full blown production. So that's
Yeah, it definitely takes way more time than Sometimes Geek did. Like Sometimes Geek, I think it would take me, I mean, not counting all the time I was playing video games and shit like that to talk about, but like I would say Tuesday would roll around, I'd record for about half an hour, edit for about 20 minutes or so, and then get the episode up. So start to finish, an hour and a half total.
yeah.
This now takes me like anywhere between 8 to 10 hours. So
Yeah, for sure.
it
And you
is
do every other week?
definitely different. Yeah, every other week. If I were to do it every week, I think my wife would divorce me.
Yeah, you'd be burnt out for sure. That's a lot. I mean, it's a lot of work. And, a lot of people who listen to podcasts, they listen to these more commercially based, bigger
Mhm.
podcasters who, Joe Rogan doesn't edit shit. He doesn't have to put anything together. He just plops down and talks. Whereas, you and I have to put in the time if we want to create a new theme. That takes time to do and to
Oh,
edit all this
absolutely.
stuff. So you especially have a lot of work to do. But that's cool that you were filling in and doing all these different spots, and we definitely appreciate you hopping on this one. It's good to kind of do creative juices in a little bit of a different fashion than what you normally do. That's kind of like why I've been why I started this Substack blog. I mean, it's free. Um, just to kind of, I one of my goals is kind of I want to try stand up comedy at some point. Maybe once things open up and people start being so sick, I
Mhm.
might try like an open mic or something. So like I actually wrote my first official joke
Nice.
the other day. Like I laid it out and kind of like ran through it in my head versus, I've thought of like jokes in my head, but I've never written them down. So I'm kind of trying to practice more on the writing. And then
Mhm.
the Substack thing too is just sometimes elaborate on other things that you hear in the show, on an episode of Dudes with Brews, or just something that's on my mind, and just to kind of keep my creative juices flowing. So we'll see what happens with it. I mean, people can read if they want.
Absolutely. So then makes a question: are you going to reveal the joke on here?
I don't know. I mean, I've bounced a couple jokes before on here just to kind of
Hmm.
do it. The latest one, I guess I could talk about it. It's how um it's how like I have such without presenting it fully, my self-esteem is so low that even like my sex dreams are with old women, and I still can't perform uh that great. So that's kind of the premise of it. So
That's good.
yeah, I sent it to Carissa. I sent like the script that I had to Carissa, and she said it was good. So as long as she thinks it's funny, I guess that's a win in a something like that. But if I ever do it, well, yeah, we'll probably record it. I want to get more content on like YouTube too, our YouTube
Hmm.
channel, and see, maybe get something out on there. I don't know. It's creating is just so fucking. It can be difficult, and then it can just be like you said, it's time consuming. You're spending
Oh yeah.
8 to 10 hours on one podcast episode, and then you're trying to reach people, you're trying to
Hmm.
promote yourself, and it's pretty much content that you have to have for people to consume. And I'd like to have a cool YouTube page, but I really don't have the time to do it, and I don't have necessarily the equipment to do it, like a decent camera or anything like that. But I got some ideas, and maybe if I get around to it, I'll pick a camera up someday and then see what happens.
Honestly, and this camera's decent enough for something simple on YouTube,
Right.
like maybe drop a backdrop or something. But
Mhm.
you might be onto something with like the stand up. I wonder how many comedians are doing stand up on YouTube right now, just sitting at home in front of the camera.
Right. I know. I mean, a couple like charity things have gone on where comedians have came to an audience, but they're not doing it in front of the audience, but they're on the stage at like the
Mhm.
Laugh Factory and they're doing it live. But that's not too often. So yeah, maybe like that could be like a little project. Have a couple of local people that want to try stand up, just record something and we'll throw it up on
Yeah.
YouTube. I mean, that'd be kind of fun. So we'll see how it goes. Um, so with your podcast, do you where do you get the stories? Do you write the stories? Do you get them in a book or?
No. So there's a website called. So okay, taking a step back, our show is based around tabletop role playing games.
Mhm.
That's where all of our stories are created. Uh, but very minimally. Like we do not follow the rules of the game that we play nearly ever. Like we even had the creator of the game on for an episode, and it took us a little bit to break him into what we were doing because he was trying. He's like, "Oh, I know how this game works." It's like, yeah, that doesn't work for us. But basically, we have a play set for this game called Fiasco, and there's a huge just database online called fiascoplaysets.com where if I get a random idea, usually I'll pitch two or three different settings, and they're based around general pop culture. So, like, we've done a Western, we've done like a 90s Goosebumps style, we've done one that was basically a parody of Event Horizon. Like, so there's all sorts of stuff out there. And all that is basically six groups, and within each of those groups or I'm sorry, four groups with six options in there, and within those six options there's something to define it a little bit more. So like you'll start out with a relationship between you and another player, and then a need or want or a location or an object. So basically, like if you've ever seen Whose Line Is It Anyway, where the audience is calling out prompts and the people are picking and choosing what they want to do.
Mhm.
That's basically the only setup to it. And then after that, it's all made up on the spot. Like some of the stuff that doesn't get into the actual episodes is us just talking about what our characters are or what they want, or you know even as little as like, oh yeah, it's a teenage story versus a 30-year-old.
Yeah,
And so we'll kind of pitch back ideas back and forth there, but that's about it. Like once we hit record, it's all made up on the spot.
that's awesome. Yeah, it's really. I mean, they can improv. That's great.
Hmm.
Part of this, and we talked about it a little bit earlier this week, but part of kind of what I've been doing during this quarantine is playing a lot of games, playing a lot of board games. We've been playing. I mean, we play Clue with the kids all the time.
Oh
They
yeah.
they really enjoy Clue, and it's a fun one to do. But I had bought that game Horrified for Carissa for Christmas, and now we just finally were able to break it out, and it's I'm really enjoying it, and I look forward to playing it some more to really get the full experience. I kind of like, and something with like role playing too is you don't really know where it's going to go. Whereas Clue, it's you play it the same thing. Yeah, it's different people and all that every time, but with like the Horrified game, it's you have to do different objectives for different monsters,
Hmm.
and um, I'm really getting into it. I like it a lot. I just learned how to play Ticket to Ride not that long ago, which is a lot of
Nice.
fun. Yeah, and I wish these board games were in my life earlier because
Oh, definitely.
it brings a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
I
joy.
was a holdout for a long time. I'm like, we are not a board game couple, and now we are absolutely a board game couple. But no, one of the things I've really enjoyed about the board gaming space is the what they call the legacy games,
Okay.
where basically, like I have three of them now. I have Gloomhaven, which you and I were talking about the other day.
Yeah.
Um, I have another one called Pandemic Legacy, which is so
We have.
there is a game called Pandemic, and then there's a
Yeah.
legacy one.
Okay.
Um, and then I have another one. But basically, what's cool about those is that start to finish, you will draw cards that are like, do this thing, or if you won the scenario, open this pack of cards. If you lost it, open this one. Even going up to like one of the ones we had was called Betrayal Legacy, which is a legacy for a game called Betrayal at House on the Hill. That one actually had you like destroy tiles and shit like that. So it's pretty extreme. Like
Pretty cool.
we had a roommate at the time who was playing it with us, and uh, with it being like a 3-player game, that was kind of our every weekend we would knock out 1 or 2 sessions of it. And that first time, like he is still the old school mindset of board gamer where it's like everything has to be preserved and sleeves and things like
Sure.
that. And so he had never played a legacy game before, and as soon as it said destroy this thing, I just handed it to him. I'm like, go for it. He was like, no, no, this is everything I don't want to do with this.
That's awesome. Yeah, we have
but
we
but
have
what's really cool about it is like when you get like start to finish, by the time you're done, because of decisions you've made in the game or
right.
wins and losses, things like that, your game is unique.
Yeah.
There's not one other one like it.
Yeah, that's what I like about how intricate some of these board games get is that you're not going to get the same experience as somebody else. Um, Somebody I used to work with, they were talking about what's it called, like Midnight Emporium or something like that. Um,
Hmm.
and one of those one game takes anywhere from 7 to 9 hours to complete,
Oh, fuck that.
which is a whole day. Oh, what's the longest you've ever done?
I think Betrayal Legacy. Uh, I can't remember the actual time frame. I think it was about 3 hours on the last mission, because I remember I tweeted at the guys that created the game saying that I was up basically for like 26 hours because I had worked that day and then came
Yeah,
home and we
yeah,
we got to that last mission. I'm like, fuck it, I'm staying up. We're doing this.
nice.
And they basically yelled at me to go to bed after that. But I think that last one took probably 3 or 4 hours to get through.
That's not too bad. Like I'd play something. I've played poker for 5 hours before, but
Right.
I would do something like 4 or 5 hours. But once you get in like 9, 10 hours, like that's an investment of time.
That's about the time I flipped the table. Like that is growing up like a really shitty game of Monopoly right there.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you the last time I even did like a full game of Monopoly. I couldn't tell you the last time I played Monopoly that wasn't like the McDonald's one.
Yeah, I think the last time the wife and I have played, it was like on the iPad or something where we were watching a movie and just passing it back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, it can be fun for sure. You've been doing any video games? How do you feel about these the latest PS5 reveal and everything like that? Or the
Uh,
cube that looks horrible in my opinion.
so it does. And I know exactly, I've already carved out a space next to my TV where it's going to go. But honestly, with the amount of podcasting I do between Rolling Misadventures and then my other show, LifeWorld, plus the million guest spots that I do,
Yeah,
I haven't been playing a whole lot. Like back when I did Sometimes Geek, I would knock out a new game every week.
yeah,
And so, A, I'm saving money by not doing a gaming podcast, which is awesome.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm still playing stuff here and there. I just played through Doom Eternal, which was
Cool.
pretty cool, but I mean it's Doom. You run around
Yeah.
and you shoot demons and you feel like a badass when the music kicks in, and then it just gets ridiculously hard. So
I recently so I've been like on the PlayStation Plus for a couple of months.
mhm.
I'm really behind on it. This is like the first year I've ever had it. Um so I've been enjoying like some of the free ones. I downloaded the Nathan Drake collection, and
Nice.
I don't know how I'm playing the first one, the first Uncharted or whatever, and I don't know if I like it.
I have it downloaded. I haven't played it yet because I know it's 3 games,
Hmm.
and I know I'm gonna want to sit and play through all of them, like
Yeah,
just back to back. And I'm just like, I don't have the time for this anymore.
I started playing it, and I was just like, eh, it's. I mean, I've heard great things about them, and maybe it gets
Yeah,
better.
same.
Maybe I just got to give it a little bit more time, but um, I've been looking at my game shelf, and I'm like, fuck, like I have all these games that I've started and I stopped. Like I really have to restart every single one of these games because I don't
Mhm.
know what's going on, where I left off. So like Fallout 4, I got to restart. Resident Evil, Biohazard, I got to restart. Even God of War, I got to restart. Um,
Oh, that's
yeah,
so
man,
much progress.
and I like for God of War, I was probably like halfway through. I
Oh
just
yeah, you were hitting me up. You're like, I'm gonna finish it in the next like 2 weeks. We'll talk about it. Then
I
just
never did.
crickets after that.
I just never did. So I gotta get back on it. Um, but the biggest part, like I want to play Resident Evil. My daughter wants to watch me play Resident Evil, but I don't know if I'm ready for the repercussions of her watching me play Resident Evil.
Yeah. How old is she
Especially,
now?
she's 11.
Oh, I think it'll be all right.
Yeah, she might be able to handle it. My son, on the other hand, who's 6,
Oh no,
would not.
no.
So I play like I played like Borderlands 2 in front of them, in front of both of them, and
Mhm.
that was the last game I beat was Borderlands 2. So I hadn't I played it before, like I played it like for a long time before I got my house, and then I got my house and I didn't play it, and I probably beat it like a month ago. So I went like a
Yeah.
year. I went about a year without playing it, and I just like popped it back in, and I like kind of recapped the little things in my mind where I was at. And then like had I played for another like 2 hours, I would have beat it because I finished it like right away. I was like, oh shit, I was really close to the end. That just goes to show. I mean, time really is precious when it comes to when you want a game because especially with kids, with work, with life, you just
Mhm.
have to. As an adult, you really just got to pound it out. You know, when we were kids, like I could just sit down on a fucking weekend, pound a game out. I'm like, hell yeah, what a great weekend I had.
Oh
So
yeah. No, like we would hit up, Blockbuster or whatever, rent a
yeah,
game. I would knock it out in the 2 days, return it before that late fee kicked in.
yeah.
And I couldn't even begin to think of how many games I beat over a weekend. And
Hmm.
now it's like I get, 2 hours when I get home from work. If I'm not editing a podcast, if I'm not doing yard work,
Right.
it's like, oh yeah, no, all the time when we were kids and we wanted to play video games and we had no money to buy any of them. Now it's like I have the money and no time to play any of them. It
Right.
sucks.
I'm in like an imaginary war with my neighbors too when it comes to yard work. So if one of them mows the lawn before me that week, I was like, fuck, I'm losing. I gotta crank this bad boy up and cut that lawn. And especially it gets really bad when both of them do it on the same day. And I'm like, oh shit, like
Oh, so it's either side.
yeah, I'm stuck in the middle
Oh
and like my
no.
grass is longer than theirs. I'm like, oh no, like I can't be that guy. I gotta get rid. And then you go like 3 houses down, they haven't mowed their lawn in 2 months. And
Doesn't matter. They're not
it,
next to yours.
right. It's like these people are trying to show me up.
See, the thing is I bought my house like 3 years ago now, and I know all of this. It's just like, yeah, 100%. As soon as I'm coming up for work, as soon as I see that my grass is an inch taller than theirs,
Right.
because they'll cut it up. Like we have a shared sidewalk
Yeah.
where there's like a little grass patch across, and it's just
Okay.
like I can see where they cut that line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh, this is my property line. I'm like, well, shit.
Yeah, that drives me nuts too. We have like there's one with my one neighbor. We have like that little like community one up in the front, like where
Hmm.
it's technically like city property, but we still have to
Yeah,
mow it.
yeah.
Um, they definitely they know where that line is, and I'm just like, dude, just do the whole thing. Like, just do the whole thing. Because whenever I do it before them, I just cut that whole part, and I wonder if that annoys them because they're just like, oh shit, now it doesn't line up with my with the start of my lawn, but I just do
I
it.
think they're probably all right with it, but where you will definitely fall into the homeowner, like this is where the property line is when there's a piece of dog poop on the other side of it. You're
Yeah.
just like, nope, this is all I have to mow, and just walk away.
I'm the only one that has a dog between the neighbors.
Oh,
So, I mean, there's dogs like behind us, but yeah, left, right, and left to us. We're the only ones. Phil is the only one, and he shits a lot. It's crazy how much. It's crazy how much dog poop I pick up, and I'm pretty good about it. I do it like every couple days, and I'm like, holy shit, dude. After winter, oh my god, after all the snow melted,
oh,
it was
geez.
shit again and poop again, and it was horrible. Do you have any pets?
I do. I have a cat who is extremely low maintenance unless I'm recording. Then he's like scratching at my office door.
I wish we
Uh,
got a cat.
you say that until he like takes down the curtains or
Yeah,
chews through cables and shit like that.
my son's allergic to cats, so that doesn't really
Oh, okay.
work out, unfortunately. So we got stuck with Phil, and Phil's really like, honestly, it's just like having a toddler. You gotta watch where he is, what he's putting in his mouth.
Yep.
You think you have something high enough, but you don't. You gotta put your food on the table, and the fucker just grabs it, and it's just like, oh man. Only I can just like verbally abuse him, versus I can't do that to my kids.
Yeah, then you end up having to pay for therapy afterwards.
Right? Yeah, my dog, he
Yeah.
might need therapy, but we'll never know.
Yeah, you got to call the dog whisperer in.
Yeah, Caesar Milan or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I could handle him. He would tell me I'm a horrible dog owner, most likely.
Probably. But
Hey,
I mean, that's his job. That's how he makes his money. So,
I couldn't imagine what like, so if you could have like a fantasy job like that, what would you do?
um, God. So, of course, like wife and I have had this conversation late at night, usually over drinks. If it wasn't podcasting, because honestly, like I said, been doing it forever, so
Right.
absolutely love that. Um, it would honestly be to make enough money just to enjoy living,
Hmm.
which sounds kind of cheesy, except for the fact that like you see the Casey Neistats and all those guys on YouTube that are just doing whatever the hell they want and they're
Right.
recording their lives. I wouldn't record it, but I would definitely do that kind of stuff where it's just, hey, you know what? I want to hop over to Italy for a weekend or Dubai or Japan or wherever, or just like, you know what? I have this crazy idea to turn my backyard into a swimming pool. Okay, cool. I have the money to do it. It's just
Right.
that stupid shit like that.
Right.
That would be my dream right there.
Well, you got that kid from Ryan's Toy Review. Ryan, that dude made 22 million bucks and he was fucking
Right?
years old.
Just opening boxes of toys.
He's not. He doesn't even do that anymore.
What?
He just does like a bunch of random shit. And like they got two channels, so they have Ryan's Toy Review and then they have like Ryan's Family Review. But now like the toy reviews are all sponsored. So
Of course.
Walmart sponsors them, Target sponsors them, and they like, oh, let's do this this game where you just punch a fucking box and grab the toy, and it's like, oh, look at this Walmart exclusive toy that you can get. And it's just like product placement at its finest. The kid had a show on Nickelodeon. It's like I only know this because my son watched it. I forget what it's called, but you have to like figure out who the special guest is, and they just do like, I don't know,
You
dumb
just
shit.
punch them through a box and pull them out.
Yeah, Tony Hawk was on an episode, which was pretty cool. But I'm just like, man, out of all you have all these people that do these things, like why can't I think of something? And like you said, like just become a content creator where you're making
Right.
millions of bucks. That'd be, oh, that'd be insane.
I mean, yes and no. Like, you know this just from, writing jokes as well as doing the podcast for several years. You can create as much content as you want. It's the hustle outside of that that
Mhm.
really pays off.
That's true.
Like, I've been doing it for 5 years, and I get every 2 weeks, I get maybe a couple hundred downloads.
Yeah.
And that's on top of, social media every day when I'm on my lunch break at work. So it's like,
Right.
okay, I'm doing that. Or when I'm coming home and I'm editing for a couple hours, I've already put in my 9 to 5. Now I'm
Right.
going to work overtime on my own watch. Um, so it's a little bit of that, but it's also just coming up with an idea of like, why is nobody doing this? That's really where it's paying off.
Right.
Like, you go to YouTube, there's a million unboxing channels, and I'm sure I'm subscribed to at least half of those.
Hmm. Yeah, it's insane. And like you said, like really it's the trying to figure out like how to reach more people. I don't even know how to do that. I mean, like hopping on other podcasts probably
Oh
help.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
so I gotta like maybe try to work on that and get on some podcasts and do some interviews. Or just have more people on mine, which I try to reach out to people in like bands or podcasts that I like. And from time to time I get a few of them, which is pretty cool. And it's always awesome to kind of talk to these people. And I've had a couple people on like that Lock and Key show on Netflix. I don't know if you've
Oh
ever
yeah, yeah,
heard.
yeah.
That's a pretty cool show. I watched it. Me and
No,
Chris
and that
kind
was
of
a
got
good interview
hooked into
too.
it. Oh yeah, thanks, man. It was a lot of fun, but man, it's just like trying to reach people. I'm not, I used to think I was like this marketing savvy guy because I did it in the radio biz, but I would just walk into a building and be like, "You want some ads?" or something like that. Whereas,
Yeah, no, you had a reason to be there.
yeah, oh yeah, I should walk in. I've been thinking, so I have like a handful of stickers, and I'm like, I might go old school and just start putting these stickers on some light poles or something, and just see what happens.
It works, dude. Like there's one of the friends I made right after I moved to Tacoma. I grew up like 30 minutes north of here.
Okay.
Um, just we happened to hit it off when I had just moved. I'm searching through Google, like, okay, Tacoma podcasts. Found this one called the Grit City Podcast, and I'm now friends with him. Like, I'm playing D&D with one of the guys who hosts it, or going to his house parties and stuff like that. So it is very much just a going out of your way and saying, you know what, why not just hit them up, send that email,
Yeah,
and then just stick it to it. I mean, like, that's how you and I got to meet each other. It was just like,
Reddit, I think it was.
yeah, it was Reddit. It was
Yeah.
which I still don't fucking use to this day. But it was just like, hey, I have a podcast, you have a podcast, let's swap promos. And from there, it's just like, oh, okay, yeah, we checked out each other's shows, we enjoyed each other's
Right.
sense of humor, and it just went from there.
Yeah, I've made some decent friends over that. And yeah, I just got, it was crazy, like I just got a message on Reddit from a that comment that I made like two
Oh,
years
no
ago.
shit.
Yeah, and he's like, what do you normally do? And I was just like, this is weird. I haven't.
Not log into Reddit.
Yeah, I was like, I haven't. And it was oddly enough, it was just like from the other day that he sent it. I was like, well, I haven't done like this cross promo stuff in a while, but I find that having the people on your show versus just playing their promos a little more effective.
It does. Promos help to get your name out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my co-host on LifeWorld, she runs promos on every episode that she does,
Okay.
which is now something I started doing just to get my show out there. I'd say, like, as someone who listens to a lot of podcasts, like I've got 40 to 50 I'm sub to that
Yeah.
I listen to every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say maybe 3 or 4 of those were from promos. So, I
Okay.
mean, not a whole lot, but it at least gets the name going.
For
So when
sure.
I'm on, Twitter, or I'm in a Facebook group for podcasting, and I see someone mention their show, I'm like, oh, wait, yeah, it's that show that I heard the promo for. Yeah, that seemed all right. Why don't I check it out?
What's your other podcast about?
Life World is it started out as a true crime podcast, but it was focusing on cybercrime.
Oh, that's crazy. That's great.
And then it's still cybercrime, but it's also just people doing really shitty things online.
Sure.
So it's not all necessarily crime related, but
Mhm.
like I did an episode, but basically Kate and we swap off every episode. Like, she'll bring a story or a topic, then the next one I will. So, like, we've talked about things like the Slenderman cases,
The
We
one in
did,
Milwaukee?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy.
I did one episode where it was like not quite like a BuzzFeed article, but that's kind of how it ended up being, where it was like talking about the most famous computer viruses and the
Okay.
stories behind them and stuff like that. And so
Wow.
it's all over the place, but
That's pretty
a
sweet.
whole lot of fun. And if you're into nerdy computer shit, it is definitely something to check out.
I mean, you'd be amazed at like what people are going to be interested in. Carissa and I watched McMillions on Hulu. It's an HBO docu series all about the McDonald's fucking monopoly thing. Like there was a big FBI investigation with it because members of the mob got involved and they're selling
Of course they
pieces.
did.
They're selling pieces to people, so they'd have these $1 million winner, like instant winners. They would get a hold of it, they would sell it for $150,000, and
Oh
then
yeah.
I would sell it to you. You claim the $1 million, and you'd give me a cut of it, which is yeah, it's just insane. Like the kind of shit like that that happens and nowadays, especially with the internet and everything. You never know. My former employer, before I had started working there, they actually got like a malware attack where they couldn't do
Oh yeah.
anything for about a week. There was like a malware ransom, which is you think, oh, that's not going to happen anywhere that I know of, but it happened right down the street.
Oh
Pretty
yeah. No, I remember getting a text. I was at work one day and my mom texted me saying, "Hey," and keeping in mind this is like a one location kind of business that she was working at the time. She was like, do you know, she sends me a screenshot. She's like, "Do you know anything about this?" And I'm like, "Fuck, no, I don't." "Okay, Google." And so I'm
yeah.
looking it all up. I'm like, "Oh, no, he got hit with like a blockchain malware bullshit." And I was like, "You either pay the ransom and it's 50-50 whether you get your shit back, or you just, cut your losses and hope you
Right.
have paper backup,"
It's not
kind of
something
stuff.
that you can just like unplug and restart.
Ah, if it was only that way.
That's I would laugh so hard, and that could be like a good YouTube bit where like a business is just calling it's calling somebody that, well, just try to unplug it and just clear
Have
it
you tried
all
turning
out.
it off and on again?
But that's really cool. Is that with Kate from Ignorance is Bliss or
Yeah,
something?
yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, you're working with another podcaster, and that's like yeah, I think I've done like 4 podcasts, and this is the only one that's made it through
It
that
happens, man.
that 8 episode slump.
I was. It is the 8 episodes. No, it's one of those things. Like, especially anyone who does anything creative, you will have a million ideas. It's just
Right.
whether or not you stick with them. Like, I was talking on a Discord group, the Cash Junkie Discord, with a bunch of other podcasters, and someone basically made the comment of, "Am I the only one who has like one or two shows and like six more lined up in my head?" And I'm like, just looking at this slew of posts, it's like even myself, I was like, no, I kind of want to restart Sometimes Geek, and then I've got like an idea for an audio drama. It's just like
Yeah.
I don't have time in the day, and I know that.
I wanted to do at one point, I never did it, but I wanted to kind of do like a late night podcast show where you have a host, you do a monologue, you kick it over to some sort of pre-recorded, or it obviously would all
Mhm.
be
Yeah,
pre-recorded, but it'd be like a pre-made like man on the street or some bit or some skit or something, and then you would have a guest that would do like I would have you on as the guest, and you do
yeah.
like your 5-10 minute little interview. Like I wanted to do like a late night show but in a podcast form.
I've heard podcasts that'll do skits and like the
Yeah.
improv comedy kind of stuff. Um, and then obviously, there's a million interview shows out there, but I've never
Right.
heard anybody blend the two.
Yeah, it'd be difficult to do, I think, but
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you get enough people, even if it was just like a once a month thing, maybe I'll give it a shot and just make a special dudes with brews thing. I just recently tweeted a graphic I made, and it was off a tweet I think I tweeted maybe like 2 years ago about a podcast called The Walking Dad.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, I remember that.
so I made the Twitter handle a long time ago, just because I was like I might want to do this one day. So I got the Twitter handle. I made the graphic yesterday, just out of boredom, and it's
Hmm.
something that I've been thinking about doing. So yeah, you can see it on Twitter or Instagram. It's on there. I made it. Um, that might be something I want to do. Just kind of a parenting podcast and talk about my struggles as a parent, or talk to people who our step parents, talk to people who never wanted to be parents or don't want to be
Yeah.
parents, and just kind of getting the perspectives. Because I try to be a well-rounded individual, a well-rounded parent. I definitely understand the reasons to not have kids. Like I totally get it.
It's
But
because I played too many board games on the weekends. That's why I don't.
right. I mean, there's pros and cons on both sides. I mean, obviously, I'm the on the kid side because I got 2 kids. Maybe someday I'll have a third. But yeah, I mean, I'd like to get more well-rounded opinions as well as talk about like you know, why is my kid clogging the toilet all the time, or why is he up 8 times a night yet and he's 6 years old? That's the thing
Yeah.
I'm going through right now with my son, is he's consistently up. We just recently bought a weighted blanket, and that we're on day 3 of the weighted blanket, and first day amazing.
Oh, dude, I got my wife a weighted blanket for Christmas. It was one of the things she's been asking for years, and I finally bought one. And that first day we opened it up and we went and took a nap was like the best night's sleep I have ever gotten.
Really?
Oh
I'll
yeah,
have to try it out. I gotta like, and that's another thing too, is like my daughter like often complains about that she has a headache, and we've tried 8,000 fucking pillows, and yet they none of them work. So it's just like some of the frustrations you don't hear about as a parent. I think that's like kind of what I would want to touch on, but well, we'll see.
yeah, I dig that. Like the very down to earth, real everyday kind of parenting. It's not the mommy blogs. It's not,
Right.
all that stuff. Like one of the podcasts I listen to, which honestly I should have no interest in at all, is a podcast called Odd Dad Out.
Okay.
And
I've seen that. I've seen that.
yeah, and it's very much like his just randomness and sense of humor is a lot like mine. And he will spend an entire episode where he's just talking about his kids and what his son did, and he's got like 4 kids, which is a million as far as I'm concerned. So like he will share these stories, and it's like nowhere should I be interested in a podcast called Odd Dad Out, but it makes me laugh, and it's
Yeah.
that realism to it that I absolutely respect.
I mean, that's what I like most about like, the independent podcast. All the real like big popular shows I listen to, they're all interview based pretty much.
Mhm.
So like Your Mom's House, I would say, is like half like they play a lot of like just random deep clips from the internet, which is hilarious. Which with Tom Segura and his wife Christina P.
Okay.
Um, I listen to Rogan a lot. I listen to Tell 'em Steve Dave. Tell 'em Steve Dave's not really too much of a interview one. I
Mhm.
don't listen to Rogan as much as I once did, because I only listen to it when he's talking to someone that I like.
I have never listened to an episode of Rogan. Like I
No.
think I've maybe watched like a 5-minute clip of Elon Musk smoking weed, and that's about it.
And his stock plummeted afterward. He Rogan just signed a exclusive deal with Spotify. He's getting $100
Yeah,
million.
I saw that, dude. So there's that one. Like one of the Kardashians is going to have a podcast now, and I'm like,
About about equal rights, about racial injustice, and then like that's yeah, okay. I
okay,
guess I could get
yeah.
Kardashian's opinion about it.
But like the other day, I've got another podcast I'm guessing on tomorrow, where it's basically covering podcast industry news. And so I'm like scrolling through the shit that I have never read. And like one of them was that Demi Moore is doing a podcast now. Like it's a scripted audio drama she's starring and producing.
Okay.
And it's not bad. Like listening to it, I was like, okay, I can see where there's an audience for this. It's not me, but
Yeah.
respect. So
I kind of wanted to do that too, like bring like the Lone Ranger back or something like that in like audio form. Like back in the day where, our grandparents were sitting around in the living room around a radio. I think that'd be kind of cool to do.
dude, if you ever go into just searching for audio dramas, there's so much out there that
Yeah.
is like that. It's great.
Yeah, and you got to be like with that kind of shit, like you got to be on your game. You got to be
Oh yeah.
well written. It's got to be well performed. Whereas, like I'm not confident in my writing skills or my creative skills at all to try to even do that, because that's why I just do this free form talking stuff. But I mean, me and Rob did an episode where we talked about we created our own horror movie, the
Mhm.
hashtag slash tag thing. And I honestly would really like to write that. And just
It's just a matter of sitting down and doing it,
right.
honestly.
And
Like,
Rob's got the ambition. I like I said, like I'm really trying to like sit on my ass and write stuff, just write
mhm.
something. And like I said, with the blog posts, like I wrote 3 blog posts today. So one's coming out tomorrow and one's coming out the next day. Um, and I just hope that kind of gets me into some habit.
Yeah, no, like the episode that I wrote for Listen, Rinse, Repeat, I literally wrote it on a lunch break at work, like 30 minutes at work. I wrote an entire, 2-page script for that. Within 24 hours, I had it casted and I had lines back. Like, it's just a matter of, I have the connections and I know the people that I can knock shit like that out.
Right.
But also, it's just a matter of doing it because, like, I had done a previous episode that was just it was like a first person horror story or thriller suspense story that I did for them. That was like a 30-second episode.
Yeah.
Um, and then they had come back and said, hey, we would like to have you back if you don't mind writing this. And I'm just like, I had no ideas until just that one moment where it was like,
Yeah.
first break at work. I'm like, oh, what if I did this? And then the whole time I'm working and honestly probably not paying as much attention to my work as I probably should have. I'm sitting there thinking of other ideas. And then it was just like, okay, on lunch I can knock out a little bit of the script, go home, clean it up. So
That's awesome. That's
yeah.
great. And you said it was like a kind of like a little horror bit, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you so I'm a pretty big, I'd like to I guess call myself a big horror fan, but I mean I don't watch like too much like independent horror, but like I really like the movie Hush. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I've
Um
not seen that one.
on Netflix.
It's been forever since I've watched any movie. So
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Check it out. It's on Netflix. It's not really like it's not like a horror slasher killer movie. There's
Mhm.
really I think there's only 4 or 5 people in the entire movie. Like,
Nice.
in the cast. It's a fucking cool movie though. Like it's a suspense kind of flick. It's really good. But I recently watched what's it called? Good Boy with Judy Greer. It's a Hulu exclusive. There's a studio that's putting together, these, it's kind of like a grindhouse type of thing.
Oh, okay.
Um, so Judy Greer gets this dog that senses her anxiety, senses her like anger and stuff, and then when she gets it, he transforms and fucking kills these people.
Oh shit.
It was interesting to say the least, but I mean, I think I would just really love to work on something like that, and then just to
Mhm.
see the creation, and that's really part of it, is like seeing the finished product. Is just like, fuck, dude, I was a part of that. I did that. Like, I just think that's awesome. It's a good feeling.
Which honestly, that's what I get from just podcasting in general.
Right.
Like whether it's my wife listening to it, where I can see that that live reaction to whatever
Yeah.
I've done, or just even comments on Twitter, Facebook, or Discord, wherever people are listening to it. And it's just like, okay, I'll log in here, and someone's just like, oh yeah, no, I checked out the show and I loved it. It's like that feeling as a creator
Right.
is something that is not matched with anything else.
Yeah, and that's something, like, if somebody's thinking of starting something like a YouTube channel or a
Mhm.
podcast or whatever, just do it. You and I just did it, and
Oh yeah.
like I said, I've got to talk to some musicians from my favorite bands that I never would like imagine I would ever get to interact with before, but I fucking got to like Skype them and just have a conversation with them, and it's been pretty sweet. And it's with people that I have an interest in, that are impactful to me, that fuck it, if no one listens, I got to talk to them. That's pretty cool.
Right, right. Like, and to think about it on the other side of it, like on the podcaster side, you got to a point where you could talk to that person because you talked to a wall,
Right. Yeah.
which is insane. Like nothing else in life will get you that.
Mm-hmm.
Like it might get you, thrown in some sort of hospital, but
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, I mean, we might see The Walking Dead coming in a couple of weeks. I don't know. We'll see. I'm going back to school starting next month, so we'll see what happens. That's gonna take up a lot of time
that'll
as
be the rest of the time. It's either you'll just be mowing the lawn with a textbook open on
well. Yeah, that's right. I'll be like, oh shit,
it.
the Cheryl's mowing the lawn. I gotta get out there, but I gotta study. How do I do this? Instead of listening to music while I mow the lawn, I'm listening to audiobooks.
There you go.
So people read a textbook to me, but yeah, I'm ready for it. I'm ready to kind of make some changes in life and get out of a field that I don't necessarily feel fulfilled, I guess you could say. So
No, I get that. I mean, I work. We kind of worked similar types of
right.
setting. Like I'm still in a factory, working factory jobs.
Yeah.
It's the creating side of it that kind of keeps me sane at this point.
Yeah. I was just I mean, so I recently just I just recently left my job. I got a new one. Um Technically I'm unemployed right now because I was supposed to start work this week, but since I tested positive for COVID, that didn't happen. And but I'm starting next week, which is good. But yeah, I'm doing a new gig, going to school for something completely out of there's a fucking ant on my desk. Going to school. I'm going to school to be a teacher. So
Nice.
yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. It's something I've always wanted to do, and I'm super nervous about it. But at the end, at least I guess I'll have my master's degree, and people can call me Master Drew.
There you go. Like it just goes right back to, just doing a thing just to do it. See if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty cool, man. But I appreciate you hopping on the show. Let the folks know, how they can get in touch with you, what shows to listen to, and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to check out true crime with a focus on cyber criminals and just people doing shitty things on the internet, you can search for LifeWorld. That is one word, LifeWorld. Or if you want to check out basically me doing a bunch of really bad voice acting and a whole lot of improv comedy meets a lot of familial drama, that kind of seems to be the theme that we do. Make sure to check out Rolling Misadventures, and you can search for Rolling Misadventures. You can go to rollingmisadventures.com. We got links to everything there. Or you can find me on Twitter at rmisadventures. That's the letter R, Misadventures.
Awesome, man. I really appreciate you hopping on again. And like I said, you're when it comes to podcasting, like you're knee deep in the shit. You're the producer, you're the actor, you're the driving force, and you're really putting in the work. I can only hope to one day be able to put in the time that you do. So I applaud you for it, and I'm definitely going to check out your other podcast because it sounds awesome, and I look forward to it. So hop on anytime you want.
Yeah, man, just
Love
hit
talking
me
to
up. Like I said, I'm always doing guest spots. I'm always happy
you.
to come on chat with a friend. So
You
just
little
let me know.
podcast slut. That's what you are.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's all right. All
Because I
right,
don't
cool.
get paid for it.
Hey, the best love is free, right?
Right.
That's what my grandpa says, I think. Something like that. All right, man. Thanks a lot.
All right. Later.